Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Gamingnight. This is now birthday memories. There's gonna be no unboxings in this portion, and this is just gonna be talking about gaming and different things of memories I remember as a growing up on my birthdays and stuff when I was younger, and things like this. But the first category is gonna be gaming related, um, and then we're gonna go into other stuff too. But first off, this one I can't remember if it was Showbiz or Chuck E. Cheese because we they were one and the same, or they kept changing names or whatever. But I do remember going to both. The Chuck E. Cheese now, it's the one at least in Southgate, in Michigan. It's got the salad bar and the pop station. That's where the arcade used to be because there was like a big tunnel. They had floor lights. I don't know if it had like lights on the ceiling or not, but I do remember it was a big hall, like a hallway or tunnel, and they had a mirror in the back to make it look like it was like an infinity mirror to make it look like it was bigger than what it really was. But it was still pretty good size. You had quite a bit of games in there, and I'm going to talk about some of the games that I played in there, and not in any order, just remembering what they were off my top of my head. But there was Dig Dug in there. I really like Dig Dug. That was one of my favorite ones. Miss Pac-Man. I like that a lot better than Dig Dug, but I do like Dig Dug, but I liked Miss Pac-Man because I was pretty good at Miss Pac-Man and regular Pac-Man both. But Miss Pac-Man was the one they had. They had Kick Up or Kick, I think it is. It's you play a clown and you got like a little trackball and you hit the button to kick the ball, kick the balloons up, or you either get them on your head to pop them or stack them and stuff like that. That was a pretty fun one, but the trackball made it really difficult. That's why I liked it. Trying to think. And then Moon Patrol, that was another one of my favorites. I could probably would say I put that a little bit slightly above Dig Dug, but still a little lower than Pac-Man. Kick Up was fun too, but that one I didn't play as much. But Moon Patrol I played quite a bit, and I like that one because you had the little moon buggy. You had to jump over craters, hit the rocks while avoiding the aliens on top, while trying to get to the end of the level. And there's a lot of stuff going on. You got stuff on the ground, stuff on the top, and there's a lot going on, and it's a lot of stuff like that. Now the biggest ones that I played quite a bit, and then both of them were the ones I liked the most, but you couldn't find them as much because of the fact that they were just, I guess, I don't know, the more expensive arcades to keep in the arcade or whatever. But it was Tron, the arcade game, the upright cabinet one, and it was the one with the blue glowing stick. And my favorite levels of that one were the cycles and the tanks, and you'd try to get through the levels and stuff, but the hardest one for me was when the level would descend, like break out, and you had to break the little things and get your character through it. I can't remember what that part of the level was called. I think it was a cone, I think they called it. And they had different sizes of it depending on the difficulty they set the arcade to, or the level you were at. It seemed to get harder and harder. And then the fact that you had a little turning knob for your character, so it wasn't like your normal like dual controller like Robotron is, like where you fire up, you push up. This one you had to turn your thing, so if you didn't have it turned where you needed it at the time, it got pretty challenging. Then of course there was Dragon's Lair. That was the most expensive one in the arcade at the time, and I quite liked it, but I didn't quite get that far. I maybe got to maybe one or two screens completed, and you died quite a bit, and it was like it constantly would change the level too, so you couldn't adapt to it like you would like to. So if I remember correctly, when you died, you got a different level, and if you beat so many levels, you got to the Dragon's Lair. So, and the screens were random and stuff. But I remember going there, and then I'd ask my grandma for 50 cents, because back then you got like maybe $1 at a time, and then you'd spend it. And that one was one that she kind of was like wondering why I was going through quarters so much, because she knew like when I was playing like Moon Troll or Space Invaders or any of those, I could play for a good 20-30 minutes. You know, at least. I mean, I wouldn't break the high scores on any of the games, but I mean, I was able to do pretty well in them. But with that one, I mean, I was like 50 cents, and then you'd lose a few guys and continue. I'm like, I'd come back, and then like after I think the second time I went back asking for $1, she was like wanted to know what I was playing, because I'm like, and she's like watching me. She's like, that's a waste of money. So she wouldn't give me any more quarters unless I played something else. So yeah, like lesson learned. That was one of those like they known you for a quarter. It was one of those quarter munchers games, and it's all pattern memorization. But it was a lot. But for me, it was really interesting, and because of it had better graphics than the rest of the games. But it was also like interesting at the same time, the mechanics of it. But I didn't know how to play it that well. But now that they have like home versions of it, I had it on the Amiga. I was able to beat it on the Amiga, and then the PlayStation 3 had it, and I was able to beat it. You know, because you can learn the patterns, because you don't have to spend money to beat them. But I do remember seeing someone beat that game, and it was like you're like, it's beatable, you know, because by the time you didn't feel like it was beatable because all the randomness of the game. But seeing someone actually kill the dragon for the first time was amazing. And then later, of course, they got Space Ace in there too, but I knew to stay away from Space Ace because I saw how hard that one was compared to the original Dragon's Lair, because of you had different variations of your character where you could become Dexter or Space Ace, and those had different patterns to memorize. So it was definitely interesting. And then later on, we went to Little Caesars. Little Caesars was pretty interesting because they actually had a lot more games. And I do remember my favorites were Gauntlet, Space Tactics, Sega Space Tactics, and Road Blasters. I'll talk a little bit about Sega Space Tactics. I didn't know what the game was for the longest time, but I knew what I could describe it, and I just couldn't figure out what it was. But it was like Space Invaders, but you were in a cockpit, and you had missile buttons and shield buttons and all these things you could do while you were trying to destroy all these aliens like Space Invaders. It was very difficult because you had so much going on. Because you had like multi-layered screens and things coming at you, and you had to figure out what you could, what to do at the time. Like pushing the missiles too early was bad, and then all the sound effects in there, like missile launching, explosions. It was very surreal. If you guys could ever find that game in a working condition, I definitely recommend it. The other one was Road Blasters. Definitely fun. And you'd go in in the cockpit, obviously, and it was kind of like I'd say almost like a Spy Hunter type style. You'd race, but you had to collect fuel and balls in order to get further in the game, and then you had to blow up other enemy cars and cycles and stuff, all the while racing your gas tank to get to the next level. That was definitely fun. I really liked that one quite a bit. And then Gauntlet was another one, and that was only fun to play when you had at least 2 other people with you playing, because it was the only way you could really get far. And I always picked the wizard. I always made sure I was the wizard, and then the other players would pick whatever they wanted. But I always picked the wizard if they was allowed to, as long as no one was touching the wizard. But I think not a lot of people like the wizard. I think most people preferred the warrior or the elf, but I like the wizard. And it was a fun game, but it all depends on the group you had. If you had a group that was just trying to hose you, like, oh, I'm gonna die, but I know you need food, but I'm gonna get the food before you get it. If you play with the wrong group, it was very annoying. And then later on, our NBA Jam hit the scene, and my sister wasn't much into video games so much, but that particular one, because it was sports related, It was a lot of fun. We remember it was like, I think it was like 50 cents to start, and I think it was a quarter after each half, I think it was, or to play the other half, I think it was a quarter or something, I remember. They had to pay to play more, but we always picked the Chicago Bulls, and we would play against the computer or somebody else, but usually it was against the computer, though, because rarely do you get, like, other people to play. It's usually you play as teams, and most people didn't want to play against you. They wanted to more likely to just play against the computer and see how far you can get. But yeah, those were definitely some cool memories and stuff. But we always play all different other games too. There's tons of other ones I played, but those are the ones that I remember that stood out the most for gaming for me. Nowadays, there's tons of games out there. I like that. It's hard to remember them all, but like Donkey Kong, I mean, I played that one quite a bit too. But I mean, I somehow always prefer the space games or the sci-fi type ones, though, more than the other ones. So, anyways, on to other birthday memories. I know when I was a kid growing up, our family did cake a little bit differently. My mom would make my cake. She was like, I took culinary schools and stuff like that, so she knew how to make cakes. So she would design cakes, so whatever I wanted on my cake is pretty much what she'd get. And there were so many cool cakes that I've had over the years. I had Scooby-Doo, I had Ghostbusters, I had Mario Brothers, Battletoads, Pac-Man. I'm trying to remember, I had so many crazy ones. They were mostly like a lot of, I know I remember I had a dragon on my cake at one year. And she'd hand paint them too, so her method preferred was to put them on rice paper and paint them on the rice paper, because that way if people didn't want the design, she could just take it off and so save it for the ones that do want to eat the rice paper with the design on it. Otherwise, that way it stayed intact. But yeah, it was interesting because it was pretty cool. All the cakes designs I had. If I could find pictures or videos of them, I'd definitely have to show you guys. But yeah, she would make cakes. She made. One year she made me a knock hockey board out of wood, and we played quite a bit. We played with that quite a bit. She made a whole bunch of stuff out of wood, like puzzles, the ones the rope puzzles where you got to get the ropes and rings through it. She made a lot of that stuff for birthday. She'd do that. So a lot of my gifts were handmade. Occasionally I'd get stuff like Star Wars or cars or whatever, but a lot of it was handcrafted stuff. And then of course I'd get board games. We'd get board games because our family, we did a lot of gaming together. And at the time, like I said, board gaming was new, so there wasn't as much, but we'd play Monopoly, Game of Life, Ants in Your Pants, Don't Spill the Beans, Tiddlywinks, Hang On Harvey, Don't Break the Ice, Cooties, Mousetrap. And then there was a whole bunch of other ones we played too. There's so many. 80 games that we played. Battleships, Clue, Pit. But then we'd also do, like I said, it was back then when you as a kid, you did more stuff than just, you did a lot of activities outside. And I know we'd play tag a lot on birthdays. We'd go out and play tag, hide and go seek. I remember we had a big block party, and all our friends, we got together and we played hide and go seek and get the whole entire block. So you had the entire block of houses to hide in, and it was at night, so you had flashlights. It it was really cool back then. But that was back then when every parent was keeping an eye on all the kids. So it wasn't just the one, it wasn't just like it is now where your kids aren't watched by adults. They're just like, everybody was responsible for everyone's kids. So, and it was a little bit more free back then when you could go in other people's yards without them freaking out. You'd go and you'd have friends stay the night over, do all night video gaming or watch movies and stuff, or just do crazy stuff. I know in high school I got into Magic the Gathering. We play that quite a bit. My friend Jerry, or we'd play stuff like Spellfire and stuff at that time that was out before Magic, and then I think Spellfire came out sometime around Magic. It was by TSR, Wizards of the Coast, I believe. That was TSR, yeah. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of stuff we did as kids, and it was a lot of fun times. But like I said, my mom did a lot of stuff with us, though. My mom was almost like one of the ones that facilitated most of the parties at her house and stuff. Like we had people over all the time, sleepovers. We had parties in the backyard. You grill on the barbecue and set the picnic tables inside the garage. Just have a good time. But nowadays it's a little different. But yeah, those were some really good memories. So yeah, if I could find any stuff, I'll have to show you guys what I'm talking about. But yeah, those were some good times when I was a kid. Oh man, the things we used to do with my family, my mom, and everything was just incredible. Pretty crazy. Well, anyways, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.